move this over.
Please. You're gonna be
We
there.
started the recording, so this will eventually
I bet
end
I'll
up
be
on
there
YouTube.
almost a year.
Uh, Welcome to the September 28th meeting of the Mendon Conservation Commission at 7 o'clock. We'll start by introducing ourselves. Coming to order, please. My name is Carl Hummel. I'm the chair.
Bob Sweet.
Yeah, you have an unruly crowd.
I'm Leah Whiting. Nice to see you all here.
Tim McCarty.
Mike Randall there.
See you, Way.
Cynthia Halen is, she's driving back, so
Well, the week
I'll
before
be unmuting her and then bringing it back.
blends together.
Do not have a public hearing tonight. It's the first time in since January where there are no public hearings, so we don't have to interrupt in the middle to do that. Looking around, we have people here for the discussion on the lake. We have two people here to discuss 58 Hartford Avenue West. Are you here for a specific item? Oh, okay, so you're Alfred, okay. And on the phone, are you here for specific agenda items? Jane Belville. Jason's lurking from the select board.
I'm paying attention. I'm not lurking.
That's lurking. You're listening but not saying much. Tom Beck.
There you go.
Specific item?
Just representing Metacomet.
Okay. All right, the water discussion may go on a bit, so we'll go through some of the other items first. If you want to come on up for 58 Hartford Avenue and state your name and address for the record.
Justin Jim Kelly, 58 Hartford Ave West.
Erica Jim Kelly, 58 Hartford Ave West.
This is about a building permit. Oh, here comes our seventh member. I put a hold on here because as you can see from the graphic, the lot and the wetlands area are pretty close together.
Yes.
So what
Did Casey leave?
what I for is to have you explain the work that you're planning on doing. I believe you said that most of the construction or you're going to be setting up a dumpster and other materials on the other side of the house. So
Dumpster will be in the driveway. Which if you're facing the house from the road, obviously that's the driveway there, but all the work is being on the right side of the house, facing it from the road. And everything, if it was, nothing can really flow into that wetland because it's all downhill, that would have to go back uphill
Okay,
to go that way.
so I'll ask the people on the committee familiar with construction. Is this something that we do a negative?
Well, I've taken the roof off and put in another floor,
We're
right?
putting a dormer in.
And you're not disturbing the dirt around.
Nope, no excavation or
I
anything.
took a ride by there. It's not a problem.
Okay. So what that means is tomorrow I'll go and push the button to release the hold.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in. You
All
can
right.
stick around and see how.
We'll hang out for a little bit.
Action.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
I appreciate that we're earnest and looking for anything within 100 feet, and there's always the exception.
Well, 200 feet,
but it's-
200 feet for the lake and for streams. So yes, I'm now doing this for every building permit that comes through.
Right, and so if it's not working outside, I think that's not a waste of your, well, I would suggest it almost might be a waste of your time. If they're doing a major demolition,
Well, if
okay, where they're gonna
If they're
put
doing,
the,
they're tearing a roof off and they're not doing any digging, then it's a negative.
I would be more concerned about where they're storing the materials and if it would flow down and stuff like that. So I'm just erring on the side of caution. Although when I pull a permit to do some electrical work, someone else is going to have to do the permit for me.
Right, I don't think
We're
we
gonna be
want to
holding up.
delay for like a week or 2 weeks getting a permit because we gotta meet determined, so I don't know, it's,
That's why I took a ride by there. There's not a problem.
Right. I just wanted to err on the side of caution and. Okay, well, we now have a bunch of people here from the Lake Nipmuc Association, so if you want to come on up. I'll start with Bob describing the boat tour that he took on Monday.
sit up there.
You can.
So I'm the only one up here then.
It looks all efficient.
Welcome.
Have a mic.
So on Monday, I took a ride around the lake with Waters and Wetlands. And he showed me all of the areas where the lily pads are. He mapped out the areas, and as you see up there, he made a determination of areas that had lily pads. In his estimation and opinion, lily pads are not invasive. They're not gonna grow any time fast. So he, in his opinion, thought that it wasn't an immediate need to treat or come up with a solution plan.
Can I add just a little bit to this, if you don't mind? Are you all set?
Yeah.
Did you say what you wanted to say? I don't want to interrupt you.
Nope, go ahead.
They are a native species, and if I lived on the lake and I had some lilies, thank you, at the water line, I'd be happy because they're their own ecosystem. And they do tons of things, besides blocking and inhibiting algae, which we don't want. And as well, just like trees, they photosynthesize. The byproduct of photosynthesis is oxygen. And so what the lilies do is, and we do have a graph there, they will provide dissolved oxygen into the pond. And I think we're at 739.
Yeah.
So we're decent. So we don't want to take that away either. Spraying lilies with a chemical is not going to get rid of them. They have rhizomes. They're on the bottom of the floor of the pond. So they will come back if you spray them. So, and adding an extra chemical into the pond that we don't have to add and disturbs the kind of balance that we have there with at least the dissolved oxygen wouldn't be beneficial. So I hope that explains it. We're not trying to tell you not to have a little, we're just trying to protect the environment.
Right. Well, I think, if he's saying that, there's no danger or it doesn't, I don't think there's any reason then to
Right,
treat it,
native-
like you say, put in another chemical.
Right. Native plants aren't invasive, by the way. They can be aggressive, but they're not invasive.
Just a question. I agree that, we don't need to be adding any more chemicals than we have to control the weeds there. Is there any penalty for pulling? Somebody lives on the lake, see where they are there. Somebody lives right there. Is there any penalty if they go in the water and pull them out by hand?
That might be one of those things that's, don't ask permission. There's no penalty to do it if you're pulling out in a canoe and you pull something out. Otherwise, hand hauling, you'd probably have to come before us and we'd have to come up with a negative determination as long as you don't pull up too much. I don't know, each weed is different.
That's something.
My suggestion, is that your opinion or is, like I said, I'm asking a question. Do we
That's my
know
opinion,
if
what
there's a-
other towns have done with hand pulling of weeds that,
but
yes, you
is
need
it-
a
Is it in the act? Is there anything in the Wetlands Protection Act? A penalty if someone goes in and wants to pull some weeds out?
I've asked Bob.
They're not weeds though.
by definition, they're a plant where you don't want them to be. That's the definition of a weed, right?
I think if you're gonna do it like a broad stroke, of an area, I think it's a filing because it makes a mess. We've done that before, with the lake treatment. They've gone in and harvested them, they've cut them up because at one point You know, I don't know if it was the fertilizers or the septic systems making them grow out of
It
control.
was-
I think, Peter, you probably remember that, and Mike, you probably do.
It's down here by the outflow.
Yeah.
They did a mechanical removal there.
That would make sense.
Right.
Yeah, the outflow.
As those rise.
Lots of
go
things,
down into the mud,
nitrates
just
and
go
everything
back
flowing
again.
in there, you know? So-
So I think, you know, are we talking about, clearing a bunch of areas, or are we talking about just around someone's?
He's just asking about the potential as to.
I don't think we want to encourage that. I think that's.
I'm
leave
asking
them
the
there.
question. Does the Wetlands Protection Act have a penalty? Or is it against the Wetlands Protection Act to go and pull some weeds out of a lake? Do you know?
That's why.
That's a question that I'm gonna ask when I go to these October
That's what I'm
meetings.
getting at. Can we find out so that we know? I'm not interested in opinions. I want to know facts. But
In our fact sheet that we give to everybody on the lake.
exactly.
And one of the suggestions I'd like to offer is, it doesn't hurt to ask the question, or at least let the conservation know that, hey, I'm gonna pull some lily pads. I'm not gonna go in there with a machine, I'm gonna go in there with a hand rake or.
So
whatever.
we should know
Just so
just,
that when we get the phone call.
we should know just what it is in the Wetlands Protection Act that guides it.
Two general points I'd like to make is one as to, there's got to be a balance, right? So if we have too much nutrients, like we know we got, it's either going to be weeds or algae. So you want, it's usually a blend, so maybe the lilies might be not a bad form to take up, but it's like anything, balanced. And then just the second is the distribution. And I can understand up in the northeast corner where there is muck, that's where the stuff grows thick, and that's where a lot of people see it, right? So I don't know if people use that cove, but that's why thinking strategically about the lake, you know, okay, is that a narrow channel there? Is that as opposed to the whole lake wide going crazy? So just keep an eye on it or talk about it.
We want to work together to make sure that
Right.
we make educated decisions on what happens.
And
with
we
the
have,
lake.
in the past, there have been people that have actually had machines in the water pulling out the lily pads because they
Yep.
wanted it to be clear in front of their lot.
Mhm.
But
That's what we're going to find out about.
right, so,
Paperwork would be involved in approving that.
right,
Put restrictions on it.
I think that would be more into a dredging.
Go for it.
Yep.
but we do, I mean, the people on the lake, we're being like, watchdogs now. We're watching to see things like if there was a machine in pulling weeds out, I'd certainly get in touch with somebody on this board.
Yeah, that's not, yeah, we don't want to be
Well,
disturbing.
again,
the
that's why
bottom
I'm
of the
asking
lake
the
either.
question, why we should find out if there's a penalty, if it's allowed. If we can get some confirmation and clarification so we can, again, so we'll know, because I'm all done with people's opinions. I want to know fact.
Gotcha.
When we tell the public something, I want it to be factual, not somebody's opinion because they like the look of a weed.
Right.
All right? I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just,
I think you're right, and, you know, looking at the diagram there, I was out this afternoon up on the upper part there, the channel that goes through. They must disappear in the wintertime.
Yes, they go dormant. So spraying them now makes no sense anyway, because they'll be dormant once we have a couple of good frosts.
Okay,
Um,
because you
so-
can't, I couldn't even see them, so, you know, the only place that it's really been, at least to the way I think, where they've really grown up is, like you said, over by the outlet. That seems to expand it a little bit more out right there, yeah. But sure it's not anything harmful. I think it's just that that's where they've grown a little bit more.
The audience.
All I know is I go in every year in the spring. And I rake out into to try to get the muck out into the deeper part of the lake for my grandkids, so they're not stepping in it, getting leeches all over. That's the bad part about the muck and the weeds. So like on, Old Taft Ave, where 6 Old Taft Ave is, I go in there, it's a little horseshoe area, and I clean out that area with a rake and a clam rake, actually. So I go into the sand and I try to pull the root up of like the, cat nine tails and the grass that's coming up. And then when the weeds start, like even this year, they put the chemical in to kill the weeds. Well, actually, they did a little bit for the algae and the weed, I think, this year. It really didn't help our cove through the inlet that much, because I went in there with my arms and a bathing suit, and I was pulling the weeds up by the armful like this, and they were full of leeches. And I end up taking them out of the lake, putting them in a trailer and dumping them and getting rid of them. So hopefully I could still do that to clean it.
Well, again, that's like I said, I want to clarify. I don't see a problem with that.
I've been doing it for
Because you've
years,
been doing it by hand
all by hand.
and you're trying to protect your grandkids. I've got grandkids.
If they come out with leeches, then we have to check them all.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle, do we have a set of handcuffs for this gentleman?
We could save them and make blood sausage or blood.
It may be different in the spring with the purple,
Loose strife.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You just have to remember that when something's out of balance, it's because something else
right.
is out of balance. So it may be that, like we were saying around the runoff area there's more lilies because there's something running into the lake that's providing more nutrients. That's why things are growing more. So it's more just getting a big picture, why are there so many leeches there? Why are there so many weeds there? I just disturbing the lake bottom is never a good idea because it kicks up the silts. Guess what? It's gonna block out light and oxygen and make it harder for aquatic life. So, I mean, you just have to be careful. There has to be a balance.
And is that whole northeast cove still affected by the catch basins, right? The DPW cleaned them out, what, 10 years ago? And they haven't stayed, the state, right? And they're responsible for that, but that's not out into the lake so much. That's only as far as they could. So.
Anybody? So call, say anything about this? Otherwise, we'll close discussion on this, taking no action on to the next item. Okay, thank you for.
Thank you.
Now to Alfred. Sure. I see all my sounds, seeing all the children.
So, yeah.
Carl, I also texted you some pictures. You're probably not going to be able to get them up on the screen, but
Okay.
There you go.
This is in regard to the phone call this morning.
So,
I'm sorry, what?
report from Alfred Autry at 33 Maury Street of possible contaminated runoff from someone else's property onto his property and then going into the wetlands. So you're 33 here, this one,
Yes,
you're concerned about it flowing back into this area.
well, there is an area back there, yes, that it is going into the back, what's there.
So, Lisa, and then Tim, so Lisa, you go first, and what were your observations?
Sure. I'm Leah Whiting, and in that back corner there. I'll wait for you to get back to the diagram.
It's down on the agenda.
Well, I'd like to hear,
33.
I'd like to hear from Alfred what the problem is.
The problem is there's a drain coming from the next door neighbors, comes across his property from his driveway. It was always put in there, and when the actual house was built back then, I'm gonna say 80, 81, something like
I'm
that.
sorry, the neighbors at 35, or sorry,
29,
29, so it's a curl.
right
Okay, to
next
the neighbor
door.
to the side, okay.
right, now it's downhill from there.
And then there's a wall and then a clearing, so it comes off of his onto yours and then back around.
Well, a wall, no. There's no wall.
It looked,
That is the pictures that I sent. Now, if you follow that pipe back, it goes over to his house. Like I say, before, when that house was originally built, it used to puddle all into the driveway with water and so on. So they used a French drain per se, right across his land, and then it come out. They had like two entryways. He did a circular driveway when he first originally built the house. And so that was open in the stone wall. So he brought that pipe down and just kind of stopped. I didn't have any fence or anything. I was not even living there when that actually was done. And so when I moved into the house, the water was coming into my property, you know, just draining all the time like that. I wanted to clear the land and mow over there and so on and so forth. I had put a fence in and so on. So when that water was there, what I did is I exited it out into the road. Well, as the winter came and so on, there was ice and so on there, and I just didn't think that was a good idea, so I put it back into my land. So the fella that bought the house after Mike Lancini, Jermaine, I think, Saint Germain was his name. His father-in-law was excavator, so they had a small excavator, and he asked me if I wanted to continue the pipe down so that it wouldn't be into my property and so on. So he continued that 4-inch black perforated pipe down to where you're seeing it goes into a pipe that I have across my driveway. So it's the same thing. It's kind of a wet area up there and always draining off and so on. So they had put that pipe in. So it wouldn't be bad for them to drive in through the driveway. That white pipe goes across my driveway this way and then goes towards Shangras, the next house down. There's like a cart path that they used to run the cows all the way up to the lake through there.
Yeah.
So it's like two stone walls and it's a path that goes right through there. So that water kind of just dumps into that area and it's kind of, it was a holding area for cows and so on and so forth. So it just goes down, trickles down in there. Well, he's been running a business on that side of a landscaping business and so on. So, I mean, he pressure washes all of the equipment that he has, from lawnmowers to, he has a backhoe, he has a loader, the Bobcat. And so, I mean, when he cleans that all off, that's when it seems to come through, whether it's hydraulic fluid or I don't know if it's oil from changing oil in all of the machines. I mean, that's all the maintenance that is done over there, everything that there is.
I'll grant
As
you, the
you-
picture looks ugly, but sometimes there can be like a natural, I'm not saying it is, like a reddish brown iridescence from iron. But other than that, you can tell a sheen.
Well,
It could be
that
relatively-
is from him. I have two pipes there, as you can see, and I have a pipe that goes the length of my property this way. The other one goes straight up. I put a, because that I have a circular pot that puddled all the water over where I have a shed.
Okay, so go to the map and show me where this is on, so this is your site here.
Correct.
Is that a wall, or that's where I was calling it like a work area?
I don't know what that has to be.
This was off.
I have a fence here,
You have a fence there.
right,
Okay.
right here.
And
So
where is that?
probably
Pipes?
this pipe, wherever his house.
There you go. Thank you.
This is the wall that got built.
Well, yeah, that was him putting that wall in, excuse me. He's put a berm of
Yeah.
shale dirt here
Almost
that's gone the length of your this divides him and my property.
Yep.
From his house, I believe this is his house here. This driveway goes out to the road in Maury Street. There's a pipe from here, goes right across his property, goes into my property right here. Now I have a property that goes to here, wherever my driveway is, and it comes out right about where this is, right here. So I have that gray pipe that goes across there. This other black pipe runs the whole length of his property and into my property. And I have a pipe that goes.
So it's in the front of the house, not the back where the wetland.
No, but that's
No, no,
another,
no.
that's another issue. We'll talk
This is
about
an
that. in a
issue
minute.
here that he's got it diverted down there and then there's an opening here and that's where that water's coming through down there.
But that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
but,
This one is up at the house where he's, like I say, he's right here in this driveway. That's where he's power washing all the equipment, so on and so forth. Like I say, about here, there's probably 2-3 feet of stone that they put in there, the rough stone, and then ran that black pipe right across that land and it came out here. Now that water was just dumping onto here. So this fella had the excavator and asked me if I wanted to put that pipe in so that my land wasn't just him dumping the water on there.
So the question was there a
That
previous
we see them.
existing
Who blasted us?
swale along the road that when they put in that house, they didn't want the swale, so they put in a pipe and it went existing onto you. I don't know the history of the site, but that's how it can kind of grow. But yeah, he's dumping.
Then I have
water
another
onto
pipe,
you.
here's my shed here. There was a lot of water puddling in it right here, so I put a plastic manhole, 55-gallon drum plastic with all stone around it and just ran that other pipe, and that other pipe shows you where the other one is. And that's where the rust is coming from, where that wall is, he had buried, like here, I guess that's into the back. It's probably, I'm gonna say on this part here, there was a stone wall that goes right here that, from the old farms. And he had a very big hole throughout in here. And he did a lot of burying of steel wheels and blades off of snow plows and tires. And when he had first moved in there, like I say, it had a divot in the ground there. So he had put all that stuff in there and then covered it over. And that's where I feel that rust is coming from now, after this length of time of being from 4 years ago, that's now coming down through them drains. That's where that rust is coming from. There was never any problem with nothing but just runoff water coming through them pipes before. But now something's gone on.
Alfred, would you consider having the water tested, to see if it has VOCs in it?
Right, that's what I'm gonna have to do now.
If you can prove that it's VOCs from him.
Well, I don't necessarily, my well is another,
It's, his well is quite close to it.
way.
If
Probably.
it's anything other than iron, you should be concerned. So-
Right, and that's my point, is if he can prove that it's not natural,
Mhm.
then it's more of a DEP problem. Because at that point, then it's environmental protection.
Like I said, it's not necessarily the rust, it's all the oil coming through there with
That's why
hydraulics,
That would be actionable. If you got
Yeah.
oil
Mhm.
on your puddle, if that.
oh, that's what's coming through there. I mean,
So you
I
gotta
don't
get a
know.
lab to test.
I had asked, and I guess I need either someone to come up and test that water like that. I can't just use it plain thing that I have or something. So it's a special bottle or something like that
Call
that I
the
need.
lab, get the prices, because you can screen for a lot of different things. Don't go crazy. with
Somebody's
that.
gotta come out and do this.
No, you've got to go to get a container. It's like taking a well sample.
Right.
They'll give you
No,
a
I just didn't know if
container.
I could do it.
Well, it depends.
That wasn't a good idea.
It's probably not if you want to take them to court. 'cause then
Exactly, 'cause
it's-
they're gonna
But
need
it's a
proof.
lot cheaper. And then it's giving you good enough information then to,
If
to
there's
call
a-
DEP and let them,
If there's a problem,
that stuff's not going anywhere.
you want to start off by
You
having
know the guy from
professional
Darling Well?
take the sample.
He does a lot of water.
So that there's,
But I mean,
So I wonder if he,
so that there's a chain
would
of
know what to
custody.
do.
Because if it's nasty stuff, there's gonna be a big problem. Right? And you want to make sure all your ducks in a row, that no one can say, well, you just grabbed it, it could have been something that you
Well, that's
used.
what I'm at.
I would, if my suggestion to you is to get a professional water testing company in and test some water and have it tested and then go from there. Instead of speculating.
Draining off, I have to test also.
It needs to be on your
Not
property.
necessarily well.
Is it better?
Your well, or you?
Oh, yes.
The water that's.
I was concerned about the land. I mean, this pipe is probably, you see it, I don't know, 500-600 feet anyways, maybe even more. I mean, that whole length of that pipe has got the oil in it.
Is that puddle that we see on the picture on your land?
Yes.
So that's your land. You can take a sample wherever you want.
That would be the best place to start, is right at that point.
Well, yes, I was going to do that, but like I say, there's discrepancy of whether I should do it or somebody else should.
Definitely get a
And
professional
not that
company.
Mike just said, I understand that, it's not me that puts water in a bottle and do something like that.
Well, my personal.
Hey, guys. Yeah, so Susan, go ahead.
She's-
So, yeah, I work with a lot of labs in my company. I could get you a quote from a lab for whatever you want to run from. I can actually take the sample for you and everything, probably save you a lot of money.
Perfect.
Okay. That'll be great for me.
So I can send you a bunch of emails with some links of labs that I do business with. They'll
Please.
just set you up with a cooler and the bottles and blah, blah, blah. I can come by and grab them, ship them out to the lab, and
Alfred's phone number and email is in your town email for when you get back in state. You can follow up with him. So
It's what we're,
it sounds like there's, so in terms of the water quality, you'll work with Susan. Is there a concern that you have about water in the back?
I saw that today and I know that he built that huge berm. I know people say it was clean fill, but I was looking at it today and I was like seeing hoses poking out of it, tarps poking out of it, plastic poking out of it. It doesn't
When
look that great.
the
but-
last time the town took action, the town, not us, the Board of Health went and took soil samples and determined it was clean.
Okay, there's garbage in it, but
Okay,
I saw it. The other thing is at that corner there, there very much is a slope down and there are wetlands there, but I know that somebody said it was 101 feet, but it's not. It's closer. It's a lot closer.
Did you measure it?
No, I did not measure it. By eyesight, and I took a picture as well, but I know what 100 feet is.
Are there-
That
are-
dock area, Carl, that dock area, is that as much as you can zoom in right there? Is that the?
is there still a set of wetland flags along in here? From,
They did have a water spot at one time, I thought.
when we went out there a couple years ago,
Yeah.
there were flags along in here. Did you see?
I
that
didn't
too?
go in there. I was at the edge of the property where the corner of the
That's
property
quite a
is
bit
marked.
back From where we are.
Okay,
But I could see it right from where I was standing, that there was wetland there. Maybe I had my boots on. I could have gone a little farther, but
Maybe it was created by him too. You know, by channeling the water, you know, when, let's face it, you know, things change and they go out.
Is that the same neighbor that?
reflag it.
That's right.
Years ago.
Whatever this way you've been.
Mhm.
yeah,
And we had such a wet summer. You know.
Everybody
That's
sold it.
Yeah.
That was because he was a cease and desist and going to court, he put up a sale sign on the house. That was his excuse that he was leaving, so don't worry about it, I'll be okay. That was 2 years maybe ago.
So it's the same gentleman.
Correct.
It's definitely worth another look for somebody to measure and determine where the wetlands start now, because it's not 100 feet. I don't know who, I mean, do we have a town person that does that? Do we
No,
call?
no, I mean, so what do you mean? So if he gave permission to go on his property, that's one thing, but we don't have permission to go on the other person's property?
I don't think this is on, is it on his
That's what I'm
property?
getting at.
Yeah.
Is it right, if it was right from his lot line and he said, sure, you can come down and, which he did. I was there today and you were there, right?
Oh, did you go?
I did.
Oh, you did?
This
Okay.
afternoon, Just,
Good.
just before the meeting.
It was close. It was. a lot
I didn't
closer.
walk back. I
Oh,
didn't
you
walk
did?
back. I was
Okay.
Looking at the drainage.
front.
Oh.
Right. I wanted to look at it on the GIS, on this here. So, I can see it's pretty green on your side. Is that lawn?
That's
At the
where-
end of the berm? Or is that from a lot of water?
That's a tree, that's a
That's a
pine
tree.
tree.
Oh,
That's the big pine tree down there.
Okay.
So it sounds like there's two issues. You're pursuing the potential contaminated. But if you're still of an interest at the downstream that's on his, we can follow up with maybe a site visit. Because we don't have an agent, right? So if one of us has gone out to see it. Maybe we should focus a little bit on his property, what we can see.
You can. You'll be able to go see it.
So let's just back up a second. So this gentleman was in front of us before, the property owner from 29.
Right.
And he ended up, we gave him an enforcement order, I believe. So I'm sure that in the file, because then he went out and had a botanist go and delineate his property. And I'm sure he didn't delineate off his property, but I think this is probably a plan that would probably help us too,
Hmm.
you know, in the
Yeah.
file.
Well, at least down to the end of where he
Definitely.
created that, it looks like, well, there's the stone wall. So I don't know if.
There's a stone, there's a stone wall at the back of the
Well-
property.
Well,
And I-
it looks like it's on your property, or is it on?
No.
Is the property?
Isn't there a stone wall that runs parallel?
Stone wall.
Not like that. It runs through
Yeah.
in front of that pine tree. It runs down towards
Yeah, that
towards
way.
Route 16.
And
Where you're looking at where the arrow is right there, that is a berm, well, that he made, yes. Right on that lot line, that is a berm of dirt
Right.
that he made.
Okay. then
Right, that we
behind
had, that the Board of
Probably
Health,
8 feet high, something to
yeah,
that
the
nature.
Board of Health tested it and deemed it to be clean fill. Although, remember, he has noticed a little trash in it.
I'm trying to find a video.
Where did you stand? You stand, so.
I was right at the, yep, I was right at the end of that big,
And you
Yeah.
know, about 100 feet here, there's wetlands. And then you saw something.
No, it
That's the
was,
that's the cow path that you were talking about, correct?
Right with that red line.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's on the other side.
no, the wetlands are
Apologize.
close, the
That-
wetlands
that's-
are closer.
That's
I was at the
dividing
other
his and
side.
my land.
Right.
On the other side is the cot road that goes right up to, on
Right.
the other side, where Shangra's house is. That's where that goes from, yeah. Now where this is right here, where this lot line, there's a cot road that goes all the way up. to the-
Right. But there's a stone wall that runs along the back of that property, all the properties,
Correct,
correct?
right here,
Yeah. It keeps going up. So
goes right to Route 16.
Then on the other side of the stone wall is the stream, right?
it's
Yes.
extreme, it's a low area. Back in the day, I'm sure they,
You couldn't walk through there back in the day.
It looks landlocked. Well, that parcel's landlocked, and this, a butt, be owned by an abutter.
Shangri,
He owns here.
He owns that. Okay.
35 owns quite a bit of that property. I'm not sure if it's all. I had, I could have bought a piece behind me, but he had bought that piece also. So yes, 122, I believe he owns pretty much what that is. I know that he owns a budding to this fella also.
all right, so, so with that being said, so, he's gonna, maybe, take a look at the water, maybe get his water sampled.
Right.
As far as the runoff, the back part, why don't we see if we can get a hold of the file, maybe for the next meeting? And take a look at what engineering is in there, maybe it'll shed some light on it for us.
Okay.
We can take a look at it from then.
Okay.
All right,
Very good.
I will look in our files such as they are for what we have on 29 Mountain
29.
Street. And what I would say is if I find something, we'll see if someone steps up and wants to arrange a site walk to go out, holding on to the enforcement order, seeing if the enforcement order was carried out, and decide whether we will discuss this at a.
well, we should find out if that enforcement order was closed, is it still open?
To my, I think it was, Carl, I remember working, you remember it, don't you? That he ended
I
up
remember it
hiring,
quite well.
he ended up hiring a wetlands
Right.
person. He had it.
Sorry, I can't find all of it.
That is the disturbance that he was doing at the time.
dumping water into here.
Yeah.
Wasn't there.
Cleared all that land.
Right.
But,
This is digging a
Yep.
hole in some.
maybe if we look at that, maybe go off.
On the wetlands to grow, you know, with,
Yeah, yeah.
with.
But
so
I
it
have
could
plenty
be-
of videos.
could be
Can you make it clear?
You know, I know they tested the.
It's like now, beside, as opposed to what the plant's showing.
gas station.
Well, think, it's
Is this the one that he
Put a road in and
when they call it?
He was
Yeah.
gonna do a nursery, he was gonna do a,
Make soil, right?
Right,
no,
no,
he was gonna.
but
do,
I mean, when you have,
Yeah.
when you have, Gatorade bottles. and-
Hard to see over there.
But by
Sure,
definition.
yeah.
I understand, but still, if that break it down, there's gotta be some kind of problem with it all.
Take a million years.
So,
Well,
Ask the
Yeah.
answer.
but a million years is still there, correct?
Right.
There's no emotion.
What I'm saying,
So
But I mean, it's
today.
it's fun to look at, so I understand, I understand the whole thing, see,
But
he's done
today-
all of this to entice. This is,
Today.
There's no action.
because I took a video, that's how it
This
starts.
is,
You ain't gonna take videos, I'm gonna
It's
put
part
a
of
wall
the-
8 feet high if I have to, or 10 feet high, or
Remember?
if I can go to 15 feet high.
so our member online is gonna get in touch. with
Okay, very good.
All right?
Yes.
for the
Thank you.
water.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
so.
Take it easy, Alfred.
Yeah, having a good night. Thank
Okay,
you.
the other,
You're
the
welcome.
other action, I think we have people here for. Tom Bick, you wanted to talk about the CR monitoring restrictions?
What's that? What are we gonna talk about next?
The monitoring restrictions, we heard their report last
Yeah, the
meeting.
What
Medicom,
agenda item is that?
number 8.
I just wanted to watch what you were going to decide. Can you hear me?
Yes,
So,
All right. You know, I'm just an observer at this point. I thought that you may consider, you know, what your actions would be for that property on the Manugians, and I'm just observing.
okay.
Can
Pam?
anybody refresh my memory of what property we're talking about, what the problem is here? What's that?
Manu-
yeah,
With the beautiful
The
stone
CR?
walls.
The CR on the property
There's a
Um,
conservation restriction on the property. Metacommon Land Trust did their walk.
Larry Pearson's old property.
Yes.
Correct.
And they.
They noticed that
They
there had
pointed
been
out.
some work that is not according to the CR. So I think it's up to us to research and confirm there, because there was some stone walls
Yeah,
that
so.
he's moved dirt around.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna let me interrupt, if you mind. There's like 100 feet of stone wall that we believe, according to the CR, shouldn't have been removed, and it was removed and pushed into toward a wetland. And we just reported that, and we were looking for a response from your commission, because we don't have the authority to do a legal interruption on this, because we only are observing and you hold the CR, so you are the legal entity to enforce it.
Okay, Tim?
Sure. So, just so the board knows, I did, have a conversation with the farmer. And it was today. I asked him if he was aware of, what we were talking about at the last meeting, which I'm sure he was not. So he said, no. I said, well, just so you know, Metacomet did come in front of us and pointed out some deficiencies, you know, I guess, if you want to call it that, in the regulation that he was supposed to abide by on his property in regards to the Metacomet land. So I asked him if he was aware of it. He said, no. I said, well, they were at the meeting. They have a plan. They had some concerns about what was, about some of the land up there. I said, I would recommend that you go online and maybe watch the meeting. And so you can get familiar with what, you know, what some of the issues may be. And then come to maybe we'll invite him into the, maybe the next agenda and have a conversation with him. But I'd like him to kind of review what was, what the concerns are first before we, you know, bring him in. I think that would be probably wise.
Do you have his email address?
I don't have his email address, but I can get a hold of him.
If you can get a hold of it and send it to the Mendon MA, I can send him this report
Okay.
and a link to the video as soon as Dan Byer uploads it to YouTube and,
Oh, okay.
and get the appropriate
So he's
timestamp.
probably looking for it.
I would just say that at the last meeting, you know, you had someone that said that there were allegations. We're not doing allegations. We're just doing observations.
Yes,
And we've been observing for the last, 7 to 8 years on that property. And we've given a report, and I asked if your commission would review those reports and get a little more self-informed on what was been going on. And there's more than just the stone wall, but the fact is it's incrementally increasing to encroachment. And that we are not the physical body that will enforce this, because we only created a agreement with Metacomet, so and Mendon, so that we would do the review and inspection, but we have to give a report, which we've done, and your body has not responded in any of the reports that we've done, and that, like, if we
Well,
were
we're
legal.
in the process of trying to rectify the situation right now.
I understand.
And
What
Mr.
I'm just-
Chairman, I think what we should do is reach out to the
yes,
Get his email.
property owner.
Yeah.
I don't know, he might be offended if we call him a farmer. Some people are touchy. But we reach out to the property owner. We send a copy of this report. We also tell him that he should be reviewing the contract he made when he bought that property, because that was a big deal back when that property was split up and sold. Some went to, into this, restriction, some went to the state. So I think we should let the guy know that you should be reviewing your contract when you bought this property, and then call him in and we'll hash it out.
okay.
I agree, and I think that.
That's what we're gonna do.
I think that you should also review what your responsibilities are as a commission and do your due diligence.
Yes. This is.
That was my concern,
Um,
but both for this and the previous property, without a clerk, who's gonna pull out the file
I
and
will-
show what the old one,
I-
because both
I
of
will look
those,
for it.
if you can do that, or.
The difference between this CR and the other three is that the town is responsible for enforcing this one.
And he's
not
just,
Medicom.
informing us.
Yes, so
Right.
we
So
will,
we've been informed.
we will now start
looks like
working
we're-
on it.
Acting on it now. So again, my suggestion is we pull out all the information we have.
The property?
We
Or you
send,
just
we
give him a phone call?
get in touch with the property owner
Oh, you did.
officially
Bob.
Okay.
and keep going forward.
Send them in here and then go over it. Make sure everybody's.
Was someone on the Zoom
I
call
don't
trying
need
to say
anybody
something?
Scolding me for telling me I'm not doing our job here.
Susan, did you want to say something about this?
I just, yeah, where do the reports go?
They're at our SharePoint site, and they're also in, the email I send out saying, here's the files for any particular agenda. So if you need a pointer to where the report is, and I also mailed them to Tim, to Mike. Separately.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. But
Okay.
typically, where do they come into? Are they electronic or hard copies or?
Metacomet mailed us a bunch of them earlier this month. And then I stored them in someplace on SharePoint.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
There's a folder called Conservation Restrictions, and I took this year's reports and put them in something that says 2022 CR monitoring reports. So, yeah, and in there are all of the documents that Metacomet gave us, including the one that I was just showing on the screen.
Mr. Chairman, would we have that information back when the town bought the property from Larry Pearson?
There should be a big fat folder.
They did
Right.
that, they
And
did
the
that all at
contracts.
once. They did that all at once. didn't
Yeah,
they?
oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It should be somewhere so that we can review the contract. And because if the property owner says he can't find it, we should be able to say, well, here's what went down according to our records.
Okay, I'll take a look and see if I can find something for Magoonan
And the
Farm.
first year that he owned it, he has no objection, I think, to being a farmer, because he went to NRCS, because we got into some issues as to what work he could do
Yeah.
close to a wetland.
Right.
And the wall directly on the other side of the wall was a wetland, bada, bada. So that was 7 years ago, right? 5 years.
Did he forget?
Right, there were issues because the agricultural land is a little different.
Yes, they have agricultural rules. They can do a lot of stuff.
He's allowed to mow hay. He's allowed to do haying, for example. That's why he had trouble with the boundary markers. Okay, Bob?
We have a select member on the meeting tonight. Maybe now it could be clearer why it's important to get an agent in here so that some of this stuff doesn't happen.
I hear you loud and clear, Bob.
Thank you.
That's it. That, if there's no further discussion, that's a good segue into agenda item number 4, review status of hiring a new agent clerk. Unfortunately, we received an email on Monday that Diane, the clerk who was sworn in by the select board last week, has a family emergency and will be called out of town to deal with it for several months. So she had to, unfortunately, not take the position.
That's unfortunate. I'm
Yes.
sorry to hear that.
But the bad
for
news
her part.
continues.
On her
Our
part.
HR person reached out to the second candidate that we were considering, who unfortunately has already taken another job and would not be able to share between that job and this job. So we are now, I've now asked Jan, the town HR person, to post both positions again, and we'll see what the applicant pool is coming in. The other thing that I'm going to be bringing up with David and since the select board rep is here, at this point, I'm going to say, please give me someone for 3 hours a week. I need someone to do the minutes and help me out with the paperwork and stuff. So I will be looking to see if there's another person in town who can get some additional hours or get transferred to work with me on cleaning, helping with the stuff as we go to hire a full-time person. So that's the status at this point. Okay, another item, review and so going back to the agenda. Agenda item number 3, 1 Uxbridge Road, review and sign order of conditions. Peter, could you go down and get the OOC out of the mailbox? I forgot to do that on the way in. And that way, we'll put it back in the mailbox with all of the signatures, and then Susan can work with the applicant on getting the original back to them.
What's, Mr. Chairman, what's this, correspondence from Jane Belleville about, removing 31 Washington Street? from
Yes.
Chapter 60.
I got an email. She's interested in selling the property. What I did is I referred her to David Demonch because the town administrator and the select board are responsible for voting on the removal and whether the town will exercise its right of first refusal. When David works with the applicant at some point, when something official is drawn up and we get a site plan showing what it is they're interested in taking out, that would be discussed at a future meeting if it turns out to be that way.
Okay, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe what happens when someone wants to take their land out of 61A. Peter, when someone wants to take their land out of 61A, chapter 61A, they go to the assessor and they have to repay the last 5
So
years of
it's-
taxes that they got a break on.
So there's different statuses. There's 61A,
Yeah.
61B, which is.
But I think they're all the same, that they have to pay what they have, or they, at any time, they can say, stop. And then start paying taxes next year, and then maybe sell the lot. So it's not as if, the town always has the ability to buy it.
Right.
No, they can
They're selling-
redeem themselves.
They're selling it.
If they're selling it. Right.
Right.
But if they take it out of 61A first before they sell it, they could do that.
If they offer, if they do want to sell it and they have somebody ready to purchase it, it has to go to the town first.
Right.
But they gotta pay a certain amount percentage.
But it's-
of taxes.
But as far as this committee's concerned,
Did you get the FinCom mail and not the Concom mail? This is all FinCom. So-
Yeah, I guess so.
And it doesn't have the OOC that Susan put in there.
that not in our jurisdiction.
Oh, why is it in front of us, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
So, look at, when someone wants to take their land out of chapter, they would file with the assessor and then, it would go to, probably the select board but the select board would send an email out to
Yeah.
all the departments in
Yes.
town. Are you interested? Do you have any, ideas for this property? Would you be interested in acquiring it by the town? So, maybe the, recreation might want it for fields or,
Yes.
different kinds of things,
And-
maybe a well site.
And
So
that-
is that why we're getting
Yeah,
it?
well, the request came directly to the Concom and my response to Jane Belleville copied David Dumanch. And I specifically said, you start the process with the select board and David. David will walk you through the process and at some point, David may come back to me, to the Concom and ask us to do a review, same as we have for 2 other parcels this year.
Yeah, if you want to put your land in chapter, you go to the assessor. That's where you go.
Right. Here it is.
I can let you guys know that they are discussing it. The assessor, land use, and a couple members of the select board are taking care of it. It may be on an upcoming agenda, either the next week or 2 weeks from now.
Chapter chapter 60 in the first place because it's a small lot.
Well, they can put it there. Maybe they found on it or something.
How many acres is it?
Well, the lot size isn't that large, but.
286,000, yeah, so that's 6 acres. You can do 5 acres, not for ag, but for, well, no, ag, yeah, and recreation, yes.
Right, so,
So that's the property right in the middle?
yes, this one.
So
But but my opinion, which I would say is there's no abutting conservation land that we would express an interest in.
Where's the Congdon property? That's further down a little bit.
that's,
Big
that's the,
open
that's the
field.
correct, you know what
4
property it
houses
is?
down is the Congdon field, across the street.
This is the one with the horse farm.
This is the Congdon's property that I think there's a permit, is that the town one or there's an easement? That's
Yeah,
permanently
yeah.
protected.
Yeah.
But it doesn't immediately abut. Have you been sworn?
So.
Yes, I have been sworn. I'm just signing this.
Yeah.
Probably why, so they can reduce their taxes.
So if we get something from David in the select board asking us for input, then I'll let people know. If it's a timely matter, I'll reach out and we'll see what we can do before the next meeting. Okay. All right. You've now completed signing the order of conditions for 1 Uxbridge Road. Susan, it'll go back in the mailbox and then you can pick it up there tomorrow or whenever. Other correspondence. This
Is the
is,
town? Sorry.
go on.
Is town hall closed tomorrow? Or is it open?
Friday's
Key,
closed.
don't you? Just bring your key and unlock the place.
Mr. Chair, have we
Oh,
just?
yeah, I do have a key.
Okay.
I do have a key for the front door. Cool. All right, thank you. I forgot about that.
Have we discussed item 6?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Greg isn't here. He's still waiting for his site engineer to produce a site plan. So that's why that's still on hold.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
Okay,
This goes back.
2 other correspondence that came in the past 2 days. We got a lawyer letter, a letter from
Thank you.
the May,
Going, good night.
I know.
David L. Bertonazzi, PC. There is a order of there's an order of conditions from 1987 for 7 Rest Haven Road, lot number 4. And there are other order of conditions that were done after that
Same piece,
on the same property. Yeah, let me
7 rest team.
Which one's Rest Haven?
So
Down
here's
Providence
the
Road?
others.
The cul-de-sac off Providence Road. There you go.
And what happened is,
That's the one near the cemetery?
put it in here,
Is that near the cemetery, Peter? Rest
Well,
team?
no, when they put in that road, they had the crossing, the Army Corps. Isn't that further? Or that's a cul-de-sac just beyond that crossing.
I thought it
It's
was,
almost town, that's Blackstone.
Rest Haven is near the cemetery, isn't it, on the corner? Yeah, that's the one Alfonso put in.
yes, it was put, Alfonso did it in 1987.
So all these, so which one is he worried about? This last one?
Yes, this one that I just highlighted. And what happened is they went to the town with this very old order of conditions, and right here, somewhere in here, it says denied. The people said, no, you flagged the wetlands, you're trying to build the house 6 feet away from a wetlands. So what they then did is they came back with this one. And this was the revised plan. And so this revised plan was turned into an order of conditions, but a COC was never issued for this. So what the lawyer is asking us to do is to generate a COC going back in time to 1987, saying yes, and that way they can clear the title for a house sale next month.
The existing house is not, is number 5, and so they carved off lot 3A, which is all wetland.
This is the lot that was approved. Here's the cul-de-sac. This is the one, the house is down here.
On 4A.
Yeah,
Okay.
so what they're, I don't, I looked at what.
Let's get the
lawyer-
DeLorean.
What these documents are saying. And their position is that since the Conservation Commission signed off on work that was done after this with a different DEP number, so can we please go back in time and issue a COC retroactively for this so they can do the house closing?
Well, if there's an open order of conditions, then he should provide us with a, certificate of compliance, certificate of compliance form
Okay,
that we can circulate or do a site walk or whatever the
Okay.
board.
all right.
you know.
So
Apply for a certificate of compliance.
Right, he's
Yes.
supposed to apply for
So
it.
they refile and got another number.
back in 1987,
So the first one got denied,
right.
and then they refile.
Yeah.
I want to understand this.
Right now,
Yeah, pull up the original.
They refiled it, and then we never wrote an order, completion on it.
And then they
They
got
never asked-
another one, so there was 3 of them
Do
total.
we have the new one?
Okay, here's the mail from the lawyer if you want to take a read.
I can't.
Well, then move over here. I can't make it any bigger.
Print it out.
No,
The title examination revealed an order of conditions and a revised order of conditions relative to a 2-lot subdivision approved. I have attached copies of the orders and the old subdivision plan. Both orders remain outstanding of record. Ultimately, the property was developed as a subsequently approved 4-lot subdivision. I've also attached a copy of that plan. There were subsequent orders of condition relative to that development, all of which have certificates of compliance. So they have a certificate of work for work done, but there are these open hanging orders on something that never got issued because it was denied.
All right, so what's the problem?
So they're seeing it as a lien on the property. The closing agent is requesting a certificate of compliance for the original order and the amended order. That number, as the property was never developed as shown on the old plan, I would expect that the certificate of compliance for the old orders would certify that the work regulated was never commenced. Well, you don't get a certificate of compliance. You never started the work. That's how the work is done. He's looking for paperwork so he can sign. So if that'll fix it, do we have an issue with it? You're saying there's no lien or it doesn't matter. It's,
Hey, what-
it got superseded.
Fix it if it ain't broke.
well, what's the
There's an
the
open
easiest
condition.
way to get the registry?
There's never one issue. From what I.
There was an order of conditions issued.
Denied. The first one was-
Yeah, but somebody recorded it. They must have recorded it.
So it should have been recorded as denied.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know.
Either that or the denial was only for one of the 2 parcels. The order of condition, they went in and did work on the other one. Then they came back to the Concom with a second revised plan that was accepted and work done. So I guess the outstanding thing is from the first, that it was denied, but only half done or something. So,
So yes, if they send us the form,
right,
we will fill it out. Certificate of completion because work never started or never.
we'll just
Perform. Note this is a formality.
yes.
Never commenced, it was denied.
It was not commenced for this particular parcel. It was for the other half.
Not
Okay,
Giving anybody any, oh, yeah.
Good to go. We'll just document and it's clerical. Here it is. Yeah.
so the closing is going to be Monday, October 16th, which means that I'll have Susan will work with them on generating the paperwork, but we'll want to come in and get that thing signed so that we can get the wedding signature to them, to the registry in time for the house closing. I don't want to screw up somebody's house purchase.
I can come in and sign or.
Yeah, well, we'll work that out. So Susan, are you there on the call?
Good thing we live in town. Huh?
We know where Susan lives now.
Oh.
Yep. Okay, so I'll make sure that
You can
she
go
gets
find
followed
her.
up with that. Other correspondence that came in today, I forwarded this about 2 hours ago. Mass Open Space Network has giving out grants for people to do neighborhood outreach on social media or other things. This sounds an awful lot like what we want to do at Lake Nipmuc. I don't know whether they consider Lake Nipmuc open space or whatnot. They are going to have a Zoom meeting next Wednesday. I forwarded it. I signed up for it. I forwarded
Yeah,
it to Leah as well.
I registered. I think
So-
that was what I registered for. There were a few things there.
Yeah. So this may be something we come back and deal with at a future meeting. All right, agenda item number 5, amend in phase 2 water study. Since we do not have a wetland scientist consultant on retainer, they said that they were going to talk to the town tree warden and get the tree warden's opinion on whether the tree removal plan was too impactful or not, or
Is this for the pathway
this was the pathway
Okay.
that where they were planning.
where we saw pictures?
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
I took a look at those.
What is, again, back up?
We'll get access to drilling a well perhaps or doing,
they're going to go
Well
drill
tests.
well heights.
they gotta go through the woods.
They gotta cut down a bunch of trees and they,
Off Providence Road, kind of behind the senior center.
It-
Oh,
It was hard to tell from the pictures because the bark was wet, but it just
going
looked
back
like
to the paddock property.
regular
Yes.
kind of
Pat
maple.
property.
so the way this was is other people in town thought that the Mendon Concom had a agent or wetland scientist consultant in our back pocket. So we could just go ask them to do it. When I told them, no, actually, we don't. We'd have to contact Deshang and pay him or engage someone else. They said, never mind, we'll talk to the tree warden instead. So that was the status of that one that
Well, gonna be cutting and hog and brush, and they go through a wetland, they've gotta at least to give us the courtesy of letting them know what's going on. I mean,
and that
we're beating up people on the lake for pulling weeds out of the lake.
No, but they've come before us with two options, right?
They-
We've
they-
been working through this, so
showed
now
us-
it's coming
they showed
down
us
to
their
the.
2 proposed paths, and that's in the documentation. If you look at the
Has the tree warden given his opinion?
That's what they're
That's what they're
reaching
going to
out
go
to.
and ask him to do.
Because we don't have any, so let him make the call,
Right, he's,
then it's better than nothing.
Well,
he's in tune, he's a shot.
Likes trees.
well, they were just really a lot of
So
maple and pine.
what they
It wasn't like-
sent us for
It was not weed, though.
2 PDF files,
Crap.
and then they took photos of the path along the way. Showing what they're planning on doing. So they did come to, this is what they did provide for us, saying, here's what we want to do. So again, this is more informational. They are now going to, we gave them an RDA at our last meeting.
My only suggestion is take some pictures of what it looks like before they start
It's right here.
and what it looks like after.
Yep,
So we can go, yeah, okay. Or-
yep. All right, Concom finances, no new bills, so nothing on agenda item 9. Training budget. Well, it looks like the clerk, we don't have a clerk who's going to be taking advantage of the training budget, so I'm going to be,
Signing up for more classes.
well, I'm going to be signing up for one.
do those October classes, Tom?
Well, they start next week.
Right. Well, I don't mind doing all of it.
Yeah. So here's the timeline. If you take a class, let me know and I'll put your team in. Yeah. Well, after you actually attend it, let me know and I'll add your name here and then we'll divide up the training budget.
Well, I want to do a couple.
We gotta
So I think I can.
You should pay for it and
They're
get
not on a
reimbursed.
Tuesday.
We have
Any other
we
day.
have $1,000 for training and travel, which means if we go up to Fort Devens for the
I
conference.
think we should go to
October.
Jamaica, see what happens.
We just take the cash.
Can we?
Luba's pretty nice too.
Yep.
Hey,
So-
even in the West Virgin Islands, keep it in America, Puerto Rico, maybe.
So, the other thing about that is one of the meetings is going to be on Thursday.
When we have a session,
Yeah,
You're just gonna watch it from here.
well, on the second, the second one is the 12th. So that's the one, the overview that I definitely want to get an overview on. Leo, I expect that you would be taking that as well. Do other people want to try and have a meeting on that day, or do we schedule to have a single meeting in October, the third Thursday evening in October?
A lot of times, you know, when we start coming into the, you know, late fall, winter, there's not much on the agenda anyway.
Good.
Maybe we could swing that.
could we have the training here from 6 to 8:30 and then have our meeting from 8:30 to 9? As long as we don't have any public hearings, there's no coming in. Yeah, that's right, we can do that, we can.
That's killing two birds with one stone. That's
I'm
pretty
game
smart.
for anything.
It's a long night, but if we don't have a whole lot on the agenda, why not?
Okay,
I'm game for anything, but I also sit on few other committees, so. Second and fourth Thursday of every month. You're here. 12 months,
Okay.
I'm dedicated here. If we change tonight, I ain't making it because I have other commitments.
okay, so you would also not be available, you would not be available on October 19th. Okay,
That's the second, that's probably the,
It's not the second
the third.
or the
If you
fourth
shifted
Thursday.
it to the third, he's
October
saying he's not
19th,
available.
Third, right?
yes. So there are two possibilities. One of them is somebody else tries to run the meeting on October 12th and tries to get a quorum. The other one is to have a meeting on the 19th. So any further discussion on which of those two options we try?
Why couldn't we? Meet on the 12th?
Well, we can meet on the 12th, but I will be, it would not be starting at 7 o'clock. If I'm running it, it would be starting at like afterwards. So
That's what.
do,
That's what I was proposing, at 8:30 start.
so you're proposing starting later on that.
Yeah, as long as it's not an agenda with a bunch of stuff on it.
So we don't have a public hearing, yeah, we can do a half an hour.
Don't we control? See, so let's not load up to 12.
Let's say you have to do it on the 26th or whatever.
Mhm.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Or November 1st or 3rd, 2nd, November 2nd.
Okay. All right, so I will sign up for. We'll schedule
26,
the
actually.
meeting to start at 8:45. That'll give me time to get here after the things. the
Yeah,
thing
you
ends.
just schedule a meeting for that and say, okay, we'll like to open the meeting. Okay, we'd like to close the meeting. It's late.
And then the only other thing I was trying to do was to just have one registration, to save a little money. So if we can do it on this,
Yeah, that would
I'm
be
in-
great.
I'm interested in getting the certification, so I'm paying for my own.
well, there you go, because I'm not interested so much in the certification, but whatever works.
Okay, so when we get closer to that week, we can talk via the text thing on whether people arrive here at the start of the, come here at 6 o'clock for the
Or
beginning.
8:30.
Oh, yeah, I'd set it for that.
Okay,
Peter, you'd be interested. in
I'd
that.
work for that, yeah, that works for me, at 6 o'clock, I'll have an early dinner.
I'm planning on attending them all anyways.
okay.
So-
Wow, that's a lot.
Sounds like a plan.
Soda pops.
How about some,
Team building, team building,
some chips and salsa?
there you go.
All right, so we will be having our meeting delayed but we will continue, have it at the same date. All right, the last couple of items here, other building permits that have come in since the last meeting. RES 23-262, 75 Blackstone Street. I put a hold on this because it was in a buffer zone, and then they said, yeah, and we got the OC signed in March. I said, I thought that address sounded familiar, so,
Is that where the donkeys were?
Yes.
and,
John
yes.
Bates.
73, 75 Blackstone Street. So at some point they may come in and with a building permit for 73. RES 23 263 35 Maury Street. It's a house addition. It's not jurisdictional. It's all dry land.
Isn't that
And then
the next, isn't that right next door where we were just?
it's down the road from it.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
Yeah, he's
the
33.
house lot is not next to any wetlands. And then RES 23 273 49 North Avenue, New Home Construction, it's also not jurisdictional. It's close to the road and there's no wetlands and it's not even abutting our conservation land on North Avenue and Route 16. I might be, let me pull that.
There's two houses being built.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that,
My son, oh, you know what? They had to redo the permit.
Yeah, that is your, that is your son.
Yeah, they had to redo the permit because they put the wrong number, they gave it the wrong number, that's all that is.
Okay, so that's why, so
There's no number. They gave him the wrong.
It's a busy.
So they already gave out the number.
Street number.
Street number, yeah.
So it had to go through the system.
I mean, it's just a busy street.
I didn't
there.
realize what that was.
There's a road coming in here and then a cul-de-sac and then house is getting built along in here.
No, it's right on.
No, it's on the front, those two front lots.
In between 45 and 59.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yep.
The farm stands up there.
You're right, they're on the road, they're not.
Where's the farm stand?
It's before that.
Raleigh Lane is,
Yeah, probably.
that's Dennis's.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right, that completes my understanding of the agenda. Anyone on this call? Jason, any feedback?
Nope, everything, looks good.
Okay,
I just had a question. The ZBA budding me, like at 45 Hartford Ave, you know, we gave the approval for like 6 duplex lots with the the wetland crossing there,
Duplex lots, right?
duplex lots. So they went to the ZBA because they want to do 3 duplex lots without, I guess, putting in the road. I'm saying, where's the hardship? So do the road, do the crossing.
Yeah.
But then they said they couldn't, they didn't show up because there's a superseding order of conditions on this parcel that they haven't received yet from DEP. I'm saying, we gave them an order of conditions. We didn't, unless there was an appeal, we didn't deny it. No. I could have been appealed, but we would have heard about it. There must have been something that DEP reviewed it. I've never heard it, and you would think that they would share with us if there was a superseding order of conditions. But I don't know. Well, it's got a ZBA, it'll be next month. So we'll hear about it then, but you haven't heard, so I don't know.
Dylan sent out about 2 ZBA hearings that probably already happened earlier this month. I don't know if that was what it is, but I looked at the properties, they weren't jurisdictional, so I just listed it in the agenda as correspondence and ignored it after that.
No, it's what's his name off of Millville Road. Who's the builder, the real wiry guy?
Off Millville Road?
Yes, and he got a permission to put in
Oh,
a
Mike Salvador.
Salvador. Instead of putting in a horse rink, he's got permission from ZBA to put in 3 lots off of a shared driveway. So I don't know if there's a crossing there, but it must be, all the driveways it's a shared driveway. It's gonna be serving 3 parcels. So it's like the ZBA is giving these things out. Now, this one I can see because they made the argument, no, there's gonna be a stable plus a house for riders, and with all the traffic coming in and out, you're better off with 3 single families and.
Well, then a subdivision.
Well, no, it wasn't gonna be a subdivision. It was going to be a horse riding rink with a house for the stable hands and 2 houses for the stable hands, basically. So as an impact, yes, I can see it's less impact as from a single family house and horses and
Well, I
people
think,
driving.
You know, if you think about it, right? So that's gonna increase the tax receipts, right?
Those are gonna be big, expensive homes, yes.
And we keep taking money, keep taking land out of the tax roll and buying it. We're creating a big problem. That's number two. Okay, how much land are we gonna buy in this town? How about put it into our infrastructure?
You're talking
CPF.
about doing a cost benefit
CPF.
analysis, and I'm not sure that the money, because
Just for the year,
It's getting kind of ridiculous.
the town buying land, okay,
Yep.
buy better land than swamps land.
that's what's available.
That nobody's gonna build on anyway. And if you, somebody that owns it, paying taxes on it, at least we're generating,
I think the town owns enough land.
we're holding up wetlands.
Yeah, well, it owns enough land. They have a lot of upland too. We have a lot of upland. And, we definitely need future land for, whether it's wells, or
But we can't
infrastructure.
keep- But that, you bring up a good point.
Yeah.
How much water do we have?
And
If we
what I
keep
was suggesting,
growing,
it's
Yeah,
not dollars,
yeah,
it shouldn't be dollars and cents.
Motion to adjourn.
It's
Well,
not, we're not like,
hold
I'd
on.
rather.
The
have it.
next purchase, the
I'd rather
next,
stop purchasing land
the next, well, the next
Well,
Well,
purchase,
you and I are gonna.
out of the tax money.
next purchase the town's gonna consider is right.
Find
here.
out something better. to do.
The Vandersloot, buying a
Fix it up.
conservation restriction on the Vandersloot property.
Yeah,
That's what's being talked about.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I get
That's the next thing that's
So
gonna
that's
get,
where my-
But they're still, they're not buying the land. We're gonna foot the bill and they're still gonna own it.
they're gonna
This is
own it, but
only
it's
if
gonna
we
be
have to
under,
adjust the
it's
price.
gonna be under a
So-
CR. So that they're only gonna be able to farm it. It
Right,
won't get
right.
developed.
That's good.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to go away.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
I would suggest it land use.
Tim.
It's not-
I need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, we're done.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. Watching.
Fire every piece of land.
I don't think Jason ever needs a microphone.
I'm taking it out.
YouTube.
Well, people in the know,
Yeah.
how are they gonna enforce it?